Welcome back to an exciting video. And what we're talking about today is we're going to finish out from our last video. We're going to go a little deeper dive into the keys and the circle of fifths. So yes, after the last video, I got a couple of comments and a couple of emails, people saying that way, I just don't understand. And where they got confused, I already know where it's at. It's when you get to the bottom of the circle of fifths where the keys start to overlap. And if you remember from the circle of fifths, as we moved around, we went from C, G, D, A, E. When we got from E, we got to the key of B, but it also has another key in there, C flat, which is literally the same exact thing. They're just all the same notes, just with different names. And I think that's where everybody got confused, is because when you move from this B, C flat, you go to F sharp, G sharp, another overlapping key, which is the same thing. Then it goes to C sharp, D flat, which is another overlapping key, which is the same exact thing. So I'm gonna try to clear that up right here, right now. So if you look at the screen here, and you can see when I hit a C chord, you can see everything that pops up. And if you notice right here, we're looking at our treble clef, and these are the notes that you can see right here. Of course, this is the guitar the guitar neck. And if you were to play a C with these three notes stacked like this is exactly what the chord would look like. Here, of course, you can see where the chord is, which is the chord of C, sorry. And then here on the piano scroll, you can see the three notes. And usually when I teach theory, I teach on a piano for the obvious reason. As you can see here, the piano is very visual and everything is laid out very linear as opposed to this with a guitar. But with all this up there, you can see how everything relates. And sorry about the sound, because it is going to be kind of echoey in here because we're actually getting ready to leave. We're going to leave town for a little bit. And so there will not be a video up next week. But a couple of things before we get started. First off, please subscribe to the channel. You subscribing helps me do the things that I love to do, which is this, of course. So please subscribe and share the video and click the bell. That is all very important. And starting at the beginning of the month, we will be starting the music lessons. This is part of it, what I'm doing here, part of the music lessons. But a lot of these will end up on my Patreon page. And for $6 a month, you can go in there and you can get exclusive, a little more in-depth lessons than what I'm going to do here. A lot of them will be on my regular YouTube page, but a lot of these will also end up onto my Patreon page, where we just go a little deeper and maybe explain things just a little more. I'm taking this all the way back to the beginning, as if you didn't know anything about guitar or music. So if you are a guitar player and already know how to play, but you don't understand theory, this would be a good thing for you to jump onto and watch this, because I'm going to really get into theory. Because without theory, you just simply don't understand anything that you're doing. You're just playing stuff for the sake of playing stuff. And that's fine, but you're never going to grow. You will be a guitar player, not a guitarist. You will never be a musician. So on that note, we're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, we were talking about the circle of fifths. And we're going to move through this pretty quick, and hopefully this kind of breaks down. And we're going to go to these overlapping keys, because I think that's where everybody has an issue understanding this, is the overlapping keys. And if you remember from the last video, if you have not seen it, watch the last video, then come back to this. If you start at the top at C, and once again, sorry about the echoing in here. Since we're getting ready to leave town, I just threw up a microphone and hit record. So sorry if it's a little echoey. So if you start at the top at C, and you move to the right, you count to the fifth interval of whatever the tonic is. In this case, the first one just happens to be C. And you can see here the C on everything. Well, if you go to the fifth, that gives us G, which brings in the next tonic in the circle of fifths, G. And when you go from G and you count up 5, that brings us to D, which is the next scale, which will be our next tonic in the circle of fifths. Well, in the key of C, as you know, if we follow the major scale, and I'm going to go over this real quick. The major scale is whole step. And if you look at the piano roll down at the bottom for this, if you see we have this black key right here, it's saying D flat. This could be D flat or C sharp. It just depends on the key we're in. But if you see this key, If you go up one semitone from C, that's one semitone. You go up another semitone, that is a full step. A full step is two semitones. So the major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So if we follow the major scale, we have a whole step, two semitones, whole step. And if you notice here is our half step. They're only one semitone apart. No black key in the middle. Whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And if you do that starting on C, that's what gives you the key of C, which just happens to be this. And that gives you the key of C. Well, if you start on G, if you go to the fifth of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that gives us G. If you follow that same pattern of the major scale, that gives us the key of G, and that gives us an F sharp. Why do we have an F sharp? Because if you follow that same exact pattern, watch the piano roll at the bottom. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step. Right here is what gives us this F sharp. Then of course we have a half step. And that is what makes the keys. If you follow the major pattern, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, that pattern never changes for the major scale. And whatever note you start on, you follow that pattern, and that's what denotes the sharps and flats for a key. So if we start at G and we go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this gives us the key of D. And the key of D has two sharps in it, which is C sharp and F sharp. So here is the key of D. Tell you what, let me change this in case you're looking at it so it denotes all the notes correctly. Here you can see our two sharps right here. So let's try this again. And you notice here, we have our C sharp and our F sharp played together. And that's what gives us the key of D, is having these two sharps. Well, if we move up, if we go up and we count 5 from D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's going to give us the key of A. And when I put this in the key of A, you notice now we have 3 sharps. And we have an F, C, and G sharp. And if we do the key of A, and because we followed that major pattern, that major scale, that is what denotes these 3 sharps. And it moves like that for all the keys. If we go up, if I move this over to the key of E, you notice now we have 4 sharps for the key of E. And how we got to the key of E is we counted up 5 from A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that puts us on E. All right, so if we count up from E, this is where I think the confusion, where most people kind of get a little stumped with the circle of fifths. If we count up 5 from E, here's our E right here. And if you watch the piano roll, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that gives us the key of B. All right, this is the key of B major. Now, if I move this to the key of B major, you notice we have 5 sharps. So what that means is all these black keys on a piano, we now use them all. And they're all going to be sharps because the key of B, following the major scale, denotes that these notes must be sharp. So if we play the key of B major, now on the circle of fifths right here is where it gets confusing because the key of B major is the exact same thing. It has an overlapping key. They're enharmonic. The key is C flat. Now watch what happens when I move this to the key of C flat. You notice we have 7 sharps, but now I'm going to play the scale. Well, I'll tell you what, before I play that scale, I'm going to play the B major scale one more time. And listen to the B major scale. Now I'm going to play the scale of C flat. It's the same exact thing. So if I was going to play a song for the sake of argument, if I'm going to play a song in the key of B major and we play this, and you can see the notes if you're looking at the screen. Well, if I go down to the key of C flat, and I'm going to start on the tonic. When I played it in B major, I started on the tonic, the 1 chord. Well, I'm going to play it in C flat, and I'm going to start on the tonic, the 1 chord again. And I'm going to play the same passage. Listen. The same exact thing, same exact progression I played. One just happens to be C flat, and one just happens to be B major. But they're really the same exact thing. Okay, so why do we have a C flat? Why? What's the purpose of C flat? Well, we have a C flat because pretty much the circle of fifths denotes a C flat. But you never really see it. The only time I ever see anything in C flat is when I play classical music. I never see it in popular music, in metal or anything. And I'm sure there's one out there somewhere. Somebody's done some neoclassical metal that they did in the key of C flat for the sake of argument. Well, it could have also been written in the key of B major. And the thing about key of B major, and the thing about flats and sharps is people as musicians have a tendency to drift towards the sharps and away from the flats. You probably, off the top of my head, I can't tell you many songs that are written in the key of B major, but I can't tell you a single one that's not classical that's written in the key of C flat. And like I said, if you're looking at the board, that's going to get confusing because even though this is B major, I've got it labeled for C flat. So if I move this to B major, here's the chord. If I move this to C flat, here's the chord. It's the same exact thing. So I really can't give you an extremely good reason why to write a song in C flat. I just really can't do that because being that I'm a musician, I would always write the song in B major. And granted, I got to be honest, I would probably never write a song in B major either. To be honest with you, I would probably pick a different key than B major. But I think that's where people get confused when they get to the circle of fifths. Because if you count, if we're at the B major and you count around to 5, and here's the other thing I'm going to clear up. Starting at the B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that gives us to F. Well, in the key of B major, you have an F sharp. So actually, counting up 5 would actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is going to give us the key of F sharp. Let me put this back in the key of B and do this in case you're watching the screen. So if we're back in the key of B and we count up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to give us the key, as you can see, of F sharp. So when I move this over to key F sharp, now you can see we have 6 sharps in this. And well, how can we have 6 sharps? We've only got 5 black keys. Let me do that. That is true. We only have, hang on, there we go. We only have 5 black keys. So, breaking this down, and I'm going to try to keep this as linear as possible. In the key of F sharp, we have an F sharp. We have a G sharp. We have an A sharp. We're going to have, and remember, we're in the key of F sharp. We're going to have a B. We're going to have a C sharp, a D sharp, but we're also going to have an E sharp. Now an E sharp is an F natural. Well, why do we have an E sharp? Why is this E right here? And if you look at the piano screen, that's an F natural. Because the major scale tells us it has to be that way. If we follow the major scale from an F sharp, we have a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Well, right here has to be a whole step also, which is this F. But we can't have an F because we have an F sharp. You cannot have a G and a G sharp. You cannot have a G and a G flat. You have to have one or the other. So this F natural, because in the key of F sharp, this F natural will actually become an E sharp. So if we're at the F sharp and we count 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, this is going to put us on C sharp. So we have the C sharp, and the C sharp, of course, has an enharmonic key also, which is D flat. It just happens to be the same exact thing. And that's what these are. And I think that's where people get confused at. But if we're sitting here, let me put this back. I'm going to move this back to C. But if we're back in C, now if we count up, like I said, if we count up 5 from F sharp, I'm sorry, count up 5. That is going to put us here. Now this is actually at the D flat, which is going to be a C sharp. Since I'm in the key of C, it's going to show this as flat on this here. So D flat and C sharp is the same exact thing. They are enharmonic. So if we're at the C sharp and we count up 5 more, that's going to put us now instead of, we're not going to be in an A sharp. What we're going to do now is now we're going to be in the flat keys when we get to here. So now we're going to be in A flat, which is going to give us the 4 flats. So if you notice on the circle of fifths, when we go to the right, we're going to move through 1 sharp, 0, sharps or flats, 1 sharp, 2 sharp, 3 sharps, 4 sharps, 5 sharps, 6 sharps. Then we're going to start moving into the flat keys as we go around. And we can keep moving in 5s to get all the way around there. But like I said in the last video, an easy shortcut is to go back to 0. This is what I do. Instead of keep counting 5, when I get to that F sharp G flat down at the bottom, I go back to 0 and I will count backwards for the flats. In fourths, I will move to the left instead of to the right. So if we go back to the key of C, and we've gone all the way from C, G, D, A, E, B, C flat, and now we're at F sharp G flat. We're right in the middle. So right there, I'm going to go back up to C, and now I'm going to count to increments of 4 moving left. So if I go to C and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's going to put me at the key of F. All right. Now, when I go to the key of F, look what happens. Sorry, couldn't find it there. That gives me 1 flat, and that 1 flat is a B flat. So the key of F is this. That's the key of F. Because if you keep counting around, when you get to the fifths, you're going to get to the point where you're just maxed out on the sharps. And then you're going to go to 5 flats, 4 flats, 3 flats, 2 flats, 1 flat. You're going to start coming back down. So when I get right to the bottom at the F sharp G flat where all that overlaps, I go back up to 0 and I start counting to the left. And I start bringing my sharps, 1 sharp, 2 sharp, 3 sharp, 4 sharps, 5 sharps. So if we're in the key of F, and like I said, we count to the 5th interval when we're moving to the right. Now we're counting to the 4th interval when we're moving to the left. So we're in the key of F. So now if we count up to the key of F, if we count up 4, because we're moving left, now we're in the key of B flat. When I move this to the key of B flat, now we have 2 flats. So now we have a B flat and an E flat. So the key of B flat sounds like this. And that's the key of B flat. Well, if we go to B flat and we count 4, remember we're moving left because we're counting 4. That's going to put us in the key of E flat. So we move this to E flat, and now we have 3 flats. And of course, which is E flat, B flat, and A flat. And if we count up 4 from E flat, that's going to give us our A flat. And now we have 4 flats. And the same thing, if we count up 4 from A flat, now that's going to give us our D flat. Okay, now if we count 4 from D flat, that's going to give us our G flat. Okay, the G flat is back at the very bottom of the circle of fifths, and its enharmonic key is F sharp. So, and I know this is confusing, and I'm hoping this clears it up. If we're moving to the right from C, 0 sharps or flats, go to count 5 to the fifth interval, and that gives you your next fifth, which in this case will be G. Count 5. That gives you your next interval, which in this case would be D. Go from D to A to E. When you go to E and you count up 5, that's going to give you the key of B. The key of B, which is this. Oh, sorry. The key of B. This is a B. All right? And you can see this gives us 5 sharps. But it has an enharmonic key also. And that enharmonic key is C flat. But it's played the same exact way. If we go from the B, C flat, and we keep counting 5, that gives us F sharp, G flat. So if I move this to F sharp, and I play an F sharp, right here, you can see that it says F sharp. But it has an enharmonic key also, which just happens to be G flat. And if I play the same exact thing, it's the same exact thing, except now it's just denoted in G flat. And the reason is because we're starting on the G flat and we're using the major scale. And that's what denotes all these notes being flats like they are. Okay, so we have the G flat. So if we keep counting 5 to the right, that's going to put us at C sharp. Now, if I play a C sharp, as you can see here, C sharp, it also has an enharmonic key, which is D flat. If I play a D flat and I play the same exact thing, now you see it's D flat. So, you can keep counting 5 all the way around, and that's okay. Because once you get to all the sharps, then you're going to start moving down the flats. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back to C. What I do is I count the sharps all the way down to the F sharp and G. Then I go back up to 0, and then I start counting the flats, and it's adding flats as you move left in increments of 4. Because if you keep going in 5, you're going to start, 5 flats, 4 flats, 3 flats, 2 flats, 1 flat, 0, which is fine too. It's just easier for me to go to the fifth interval, going to the right, till I get all the way down to the dead bottom. I go back up and I start going to the fourth interval when I'm moving left on the circle until I get back to the dead bottom. Why do I do it this way? Because if I start at 0 and I move to the right and I go through the 5s, the fifth interval of each new tonic, that adds a sharp, 1 sharp, 2 sharp, 3 sharp, 4 sharp, 5 sharp, 6 sharps. If I go back to 0 and I go left in intervals of 4, that adds a flat, 1 flat, 2 flat, 3 flat, 4 flat, 5 flat. I don't have to go 6 sharps, 7 sharps, 7 sharps, 5 flats, 4 flats, 3 flats. I don't have to think about any of that. So I'm going to finish this up. So real quick, there's 3 enharmonic keys. B and C flat, same exact thing. F sharp and G flat, same exact thing. C sharp and D flat, same exact thing. These are enharmonic keys. All the same exact notes are being played. The same exact notes. It's just because of where you start the scale, where you start the major scale, that's what denotes them being sharp or flat. So I'm going to do the B, C sharp one more time to make sure that hopefully it clicks right here. So if we're doing, I'm going to play the key of B major first, and you can look and see what the notes are going to be here. I'm going to play the key of B major first. Now its enharmonic is C flat. Now I'm going to play the key of C flat. Okay, so why do these exist in the same universe? It moves sharp until you get to 7 sharps. It moves flat until you get to 7 flats. But you're never going to write a song in key flat. Chances are you would always choose B major to write that song in. 5 sharps as opposed to 7 flats. It's just easier to understand. So I'm going to wrap that up right there. And like I said, there will not be a video next week. I will be out of town. I haven't been on vacation, man, in 5 years, 5 or 6 years, 7 years. It's been 7 years since I've taken a vacation. And me and my lovely wife, we're loading up the motorcycle and we are out of here for a week. So there will not be a video next week. And remember, like I said, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell, click the share button. Starting at the beginning of the month on my Patreon page for $6 a month, you can get into the guitar lessons. This is going to be, there's going to be a lot. It is also going to be very deep because, like I said, if you are a seasoned guitar player, but you really don't have a grasp on theory, this would be a good thing for you to jump into because we're going to be covering a lot of theory. Because without theory, like I said, and I'll say this a million times, you might know how to play guitar, but you're never going to be a guitar player without theory. You will never be a musician without theory. You can be a guitar player. Let me rephrase that. You can play guitar, you can play a piano, but you will never be a musician until you understand why it is, what you're doing. Why am I doing it this way? You're never going to be a musician. So I want everybody to be musicians. I want everybody to be rock gods. So there will be a lot of piano lessons on there for theory and stuff, but this is going to be geared mainly towards guitar and theory. So if you're a beginner, this is going to be a great thing to jump into. A lot of these videos will be on my YouTube channel, but a lot of them will also be strictly only for the Patreon page. So it is a bargain at $6 a month, and you're going to learn a world of information, and there's going to be a lot of it. So this would be a good time if you're lacking in your guitar skills or if you're lacking in your knowledge of theory. This is going to be a fantastic time to jump on. That starts at the 1st of the month. The 1st of May is when all this is going to start rolling out because I've had to take this time to prepare for it because it's going to be a tremendous amount of work. So we're going to wrap it up right there. And like the great Sammy Hagar says, if you miss a beat, you lose the rhythm and nothing falls into place. There will not be a video next week. I will be seeing family in the great state of Florida where me and my lovely wife are from. We will be down there and I will be picking this up as soon as we get back home next week. I will be back up and running. So there will be a video. It just won't be on Wednesday. It'll probably be like a Friday, Saturday video. It'll probably be a little later. So until the next video, whatever instrument you play, practice, practice, practice. You'll learn your theory. And if you don't know theory, I know a damn good place for you to learn it for only $6 a month. Until the next video, rock on.